Hello and welcome to the Berkcast, the How to Train Dragon podcast. I'm your host, Tape C, and with me all.
Rush 2112.
And Wolf.
And today, you can kind of say it's been a long time coming, because today we're doing the big one, some will even say. He certainly has a big dragon. Wolf,
And a big
would
yell.
you introduce? Yeah, and a mighty yell indeed. Wolf, would you like to introduce him?
Drago Bloodbeast.
Drago Blood
No,
is a man.
no, wait. No, the script says Drago Bloody Fist or something? I don't know, maybe.
No, it doesn't.
Well, it's Dargo Bloody Fist, apparently.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
so
okay,
you sent
so-
him a different script than me? I'm really offended. I'm screenshotting this right now. Hold on. Snip. I'm gonna show
I
the
sent.
script that you sent me.
You know, you could have tried. This is a clever attempt at framing me, but I know for a fact that I'm copy and pasting these scripts. So.
Oh, hold on. Well, why does it say this right here for me then? Huh? Just riddle me this, because you did not copy and paste that. That's for sure.
Yeah, I did. Actually, I can screen cap my message, my PM messages on the phone vine and show you that I sent yours second.
You said mine second. That means that you changed it.
My God. Okay.
Next week on the
anyway,
Berkcast, more fighting.
Yeah, welcome to the Berkcast. 2 minutes
well,
in.
okay, real quick, just because of that, just make sure that at least the questions are the same.
Yeah,
They are.
Okay, good. Alright.
Yeah, I think. Even so, every time I send you guys a script, we usually end up improvising something. So yeah,
That's true.
It doesn't
A
really
little bit.
matter. Okay, but you know, as usual with these character episodes, general thoughts. What do you guys think of Drago Bloodfist?
I'm too rented out. You go first, Wolf.
Oh boy, the name's fun. If people haven't noticed, I like saying Drago instead of Drago. Because,
I
again,
noticed it, but I chose not to comment.
I mean, you get to
because
roll
of
the R.
it.
Drago just doesn't sound as good as
Drago.
Drago.
Yeah.
Drago. You get to roll the R and you get to say Bloodbeast. You know, I love saying his name that way, so. Great name to pronounce, very fun, I think.
You
General
know,
thoughts?
it's probably a bad sign that that you open up the things you like about him by saying he has a fun name to say. But
I don't think
yeah.
so.
Yeah, but
I think
go
that's
on.
good. That's
Yeah,
a positive.
You know, it's a positive. I'm not saying it's not, but you know, this is the positive you bring up. But anyway, yeah, continue. Sorry.
General thoughts, I think that we don't necessarily see enough of him to really get a great grasp of his character in the second movie, but overall I think he was a decent villain and a decent character.
Rush, what do you have to say?
One word. Ah! If that didn't deafen you, then I will say more words.
Ladies and gentlemen, I went deaf. Thank you, Rush.
Hey,
And
my mic is usually at 50, so it doesn't pick up other noises, like the lawn service that's going outside right now.
That's
I'm assuming you talked. I can't hear you.
Why? Oh, right. Nice. I get you. We're gonna have to like mute that part.
do you hear a lawn service going outside right now from someone else's mic?
Um,
From your mic?
Only
Yeah,
your-
barely.
Yeah, okay. Barely. Great. That's about as
okay.
good as it's gonna get. I'm beside a
I
window
hear.
here.
I only
unfortunately.
hear your voices, and I'm not sure if it's a good thing in the long run. But yeah, that's. We're all good. Okay, so you yelled. What else?
I do like his presence. They make a good job of making him intimidating. And yeah, like Wolf said, he's a decent character. He's not as good as Vigo is in terms of entrance. But they did write him as to the best of their ability, given what how much time he had on screen.
I I don't know. I would say in some ways his entrance is better. Like the flashback that Stoic gives him is really good. I think. I mean, that's probably you could say that's probably more of a moment for Stoic than it is for Drago. But I really do like that kind of entrance for him, and I think it really works for his character. And I think when we first see him, he does live up to that.
Yes, but I'm talking about his first name entrance when they have Eric just throw around his name like it's nothing. It's a little too much exposition.
And then, of course, Hiccup mishearing it and making fun of it.
Drago bloodiness? Does anything you say make any sense?
I don't know if I would count that as Drago's moment. I would count that as Aaron's moment, maybe.
Actually, you know what? Quick, very, very quick tales from outside the US. Bloodfest actually sounds very similar to the local word for chess. So they actually made it like Hiccup calls them Drago chess. Can you imagine that?
That's pretty funny.
Yeah, and it's even funnier when you think that chess probably wasn't around when Vikings ruled the earth.
Yeah.
Well, they had maces and talons. Apparently, it's a version of chess.
Yeah, so
The
so it should have been. So it should have been Drago, maces, and talons. Does anything you say make sense? But yeah, okay. So can I go, or anyone wants to add anything?
No, I think it's
go
your
ahead.
turn.
Okay, my turn. So I don't know exactly where I put myself in terms of liking him or not liking him, because on the one hand he does his job in the film. You know, we need a bad guy, we have a bad guy, and we have it. But at the same time, everyone brought up that he's not as well developed as not just other How to Train Your Dragon villains, the other characters. And that's something I want to talk about in a later subject, but I don't know. I like his design, I like his voice, and like you guys said, I like his presence, but yeah, when I walked out of the movie, he wasn't that thing I was gushing over. I'll tell you that.
Fair enough.
Okay, so now that we said those, what are your favorite and least favorite Drago moments? Who wants to start and what?
I went first, so one of you can go first this time.
Okay, so
yeah, I guess I'll go first. I gotta say, my favorite moment is actually when he's physically introduced, not in a flashback. And then you get to see him yelling at Hook Fang, and that was a pretty cool moment, because then he just draws up the cape and he's like, I don't care about that fire.
I should have gone first because this is my favorite moment. Damn it.
Hey, we're making it easier for you then.
Yeah.
My least favorite moment, I don't know. I mean, it's not that he has like any really bad moments, because most of them are overshadowed by the rest of the cast being dumb. Like, oh, Astrid saying they Berk, and he's like, oh, I'll just go to Berk because she said that and destroy them, and he pretty much does. Like, there's nothing stupid there. I guess when he's
or Valka standing behind him as he's screaming like, you have a free shot, Valka, take it.
Yeah,
right
really.
there. You could end it all.
And all
right
she
now.
does is spin a freaking stick and hit him in the head.
But no, she stands there and lets him do his thing first.
Yeah.
Let's not forget.
That's
Let's
true.
let him call the big giant dragon he has before I do anything.
Yeah.
So I mean, technically, those are bad choices made by the characters, and you could argue, it's bad, but it's not necessarily his fault that they're being not
yeah,
very bright.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Like,
So,
it's hard
yeah.
to find a bad moment because it's overshadowed. Because most of his regular moments are just overshadowed by other people being stupid. I guess I could say my least favorite moment is when he's on the Alpha and he just keeps trying to fight. Basically, it's like, dude, just get over it. But I mean, it's still a compelling moment to show that he just wants to keep going. So, who
He
knows?
doesn't give up.
Yep. All right.
Okay, so just because the cat's out of the bag, I said my favorite. Actually, Rush said what my favorite moment is, but if I may add something to it, what I liked about this scene in particular is that Drago has been built up for pretty much half a movie. Like when he first shows up, how long is it into the movie? Like a bit less than an hour, but around like 50 minutes, give or take.
Good. He shows up in the later half of the movie. Half of the movie is gone by
Yeah,
the time he actually shows up, I would say.
yeah, but
Yeah.
I
during
would
that,
say the half... Go ahead.
point is, the first half of the movie, people are talking about him and building him up and everything, and then when you actually see him, he lives up to that build up. Like he sees that this out of control dragon. He said, "Drop the ropes." He advances towards it. Hook Fang shoots fire at him. He covers it with his cape like no big deal. Yells at him, puts his leg on his nose. "You belong to me." That's all you need. That's all you need. This is like, I'm intimidated right now. I fear for anyone who needs to cross paths with his a-hole. But yeah, so that's my favorite one. In terms of my least favorite, I'll have to say, in the final fight, he yells a lot, and it gets annoying at one point.
Understandable.
Yeah.
So, Wolf, your turn.
Oh, my least favorite and favorite moments. Yeah, I get to talk finally and drone out the freaking yard work. I'm so sorry about all of that for our viewers and listeners who can probably hear that very clearly. But my favorite moment would be, I would say, like, the scene you talk about is really good, and I've said in the past I really like the flashback intro that Stoic gives him, but I would say that's probably kind of cheating since that's more Stoic's moment than it is his moment. So, my favorite moment I think leans more towards his fight with Valka and Stoic, because it's very interesting and really good to watch, I think, and plus you get to see a bit of the character that he is in the fact that you see Valka and him start fighting and Valka kicks him and you hear Drago go ooh when he when he gets kicked, like he kind of has a smile on his face, like very condescending of him, like, wow, I didn't think you were actually capable of doing something, but you might actually be worth a fight here. He kind of underestimated her, but he still doesn't take her seriously, evidenced by the fact that he wipes the floor with her with one arm a few seconds later, very easily.
Yeah. Well, look at his size,
So-
look at hers.
Size, I wouldn't think has too much to do with it, but it's still, he's very, you get to see a bit of that condescending character from him, and I think that's a really good moment for him, because it shows a bit of his character and what he's actually like. I think my least favorite moment for him, besides how I've said in the past, I think the yelling kind of takes away from some of the scenes. I understand why it's there, and I think it does make sense and is important for his character to some degree, but I do still feel it kind of undermines some scenes. But I think my least favorite moment is when we see, during him and Hiccup's conversation and discussion with one another, we have them going back and forth, and Hiccup says the line more or less, you don't just need dragons to destroy other dragons. You need dragons because you want to control people and get rid of, through fear, and get rid of the ones who don't want to listen to you. and Drago says, "Clever boy." I think that is my least favorite moment, because before then we had what I feel was a little bit more was what I feel we had a little bit more of a sympathetic villain to a degree, because they kind of talk about how Drago lost everything, and we see him show that, and by taking off his arm and showing that it's fake and all that. And we hear him talk a little bit about how he lost everything, and so you kind of get the sense that he's this villain who's so lost in his madness now that he's using the thing he fears most to destroy the thing that he fears most, right? Which I think is a good look, which I think is a pretty interesting villain, and I would like to see where that leads. And I think when we go to, well, he doesn't want to just do that, he also wants to take over the world, that feels tacked on, and it feels like it takes away from who he is as a villain. To a small degree, maybe. For me, at least, anyways.
Interesting point. To be honest, I've never heard it brought up, so... Yeah.
Woo.
Anyway, so we close that traditional discussion. So here's the big question in terms of what I think. Do you guys think he's a good villain or character, and what's the difference?
You want me to start?
Yeah, you can
I
start.
kind of talked about it a little bit, I guess, already. I'll start us off with what's the difference between a villain and a character. I think the difference between a villain and a character is a villain is supposed to be someone you're meant to dislike. Whether they be sympathetic or not, a villain is someone who you dislike what they're doing, or you specifically dislike them because they're just a huge jerk and they need to be dealt with, and you want to see them dealt with. You want to see the villain lose. And I think good villains, if you're doing a villain right and you're trying to create a good villain, then you want to see the villain lose. You want to see them get their butt kicked. You want to see them fail because you dislike them, because you dislike what they're doing. If they're just, your standard villain a la, I want to take over the world, something similar to that, or whatever it is they're doing. Now, your sympathetic villain, again, kind of the other side of the spectrum to a degree, you still dislike what they're doing, but you're at least supposed to be able to understand where they're coming from as to why they're doing it. You may not agree with it, you may not like it, but you can at least understand it. And I'd say that's what makes a good villain, is someone who you can dislike, but still necessarily, if it's sympathetic, you can understand them, but you still dislike them and you want to see them lose. Mm-hmm. Now, for great examples of both of the spectrums, looking at Avatar: The Last Airbender, Zuko is a really great sympathetic villain. Like, hands down, you dislike what he's doing.
Isn't he more of an anti-hero?
I think they kind of break him into that role, but I think at first he starts off
season
as a
one
villain.
Definitely. Season 1 he's a villain, yeah.
And as you learn more about him, I think he kind of goes into sympathetic villain, who then eventually becomes a bit of an anti-hero, to kind of switch over to more of just straight hero.
Mm-hmm.
Now, on the flip side of that, another, what I feel is a really good villain who isn't sympathetic at all, and you just really want him gone because you dislike him, is Admiral Zhao from the same show. He's a really great villain who you just dislike him, and you dislike what he does.
Yep.
So much, in fact, that you actually start rooting for Zuko to beat him.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then the moment when Zuko is actually trying to save Admiral Zhao, and Zhao, still too prideful, says, I ain't gonna let you save me. Oh, wait, spoilers. No, I'm just kidding. If you haven't seen that Avatar: The Last Airbender right now, then spoilers are, you really shouldn't expect anything from spoilers.
Also, what is wrong with you? Just trying it out. And no, don't you dare saying I'm going to watch the M. Night Shyamalan movie. No, you are not doing
Please
that.
do. It's actually
No, 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 no,
interesting to
no.
watch.
No. It's not interesting to watch. It's something else.
There's a movie. Wink. There's
Oh
no
yeah,
movie.
yeah, exactly. What movie? What, the James Cameron one with the blue Smurfs or something? No.
Not the same thing at all.
Yeah.
I know it was a joke.
Um. Excuse me. Yeah, but I kind of agree with what Wolf said. How he's a decent. Again, going back to what we said in the early parts, he's a decent villain, and he just doesn't have the relatability that most people would, unless you lost an arm to dragons as well as your whole family.
I wouldn't say he needs to be relatable.
Fair enough, but yeah, I mean, in a lot of movies, like for one thing, the villains you pointed out are in TV shows, which give immense amount of time to develop their character.
Yeah.
And that being said, I know some TV shows have horrible villains that even with the amount of time they've been on screen, they can't develop their character. But in the amount of time that they have for Drago, they actually do, like I said earlier, they gave him a fair amount of development for the amount of time that he is on screen. They give his eventually they give his motive, and I mean, granted, it was a little, nebulous. It's like even as a boy, and then he takes off his fake arm, and it's like, oh, I get it. He lost his arm and his family to dragons, and then when the talk between Hiccup and Drago continues, you see, what his motive is really, and then you see it's kind of actually been convoluted too. How he just wants power now instead of just trying to control the dragons. So it gets a little bit of development that he gets, and I will say it's a lot more than most movie villains do get. So he is on the good spectrum of villainy.
Okay,
I think,
now... Go ahead.
I would say, again, I don't think he's as good a villain as he could be, and I think they kind of hurt themselves a little bit by making him want to also conquer and rule the world as well.
Yeah.
I feel like that was tacked on and unnecessary.
Well, yeah, that's what I said. How
think...
it got convoluted. That's what I meant, sort of.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah, yeah, and I would agree. Then I don't think that was necessary. I think it would have been, again, more interesting to have him just want to destroy the dragons. Yes, it's an extreme, but it's since we're doing opposites here, it's the opposite of what Hiccup wants, which is peace with the dragons and living together. Well, Drago wants to destroy the dragons because he wants, because at least in my mind, he would want to destroy the dragons because he wants to prevent other people having to go through what he went through as well. And he realizes that the only way to destroy the dragons is he can't do it by himself, and it's hard for people to do it, in mass, so why not use dragons to destroy dragons?
Yeah.
Kind of
Yeah,
the Batman thing to do,
Wait, but hold
using
on.
your fear to...
Yeah, no, you continue.
Using your fear as your strength.
I just want to say that, that's what I was talking
The
about. The point
Drago's
where it
bad.
says you need dragons.
Where
to
are the
control
other
other
dragons going?
But then Hiccup says, or maybe you need dragons to control other people. And that's when Drago, they could have said, no, I need to control dragons to keep his motive the same. But then he laughs and is like, yeah, I guess it's right. So, you get that whole...
To be
fair.
to be fair to the movie, though, they did start to set it up beforehand, like in Stoic's flashback. He went to all the Viking chiefs and asked them to bow down to him.
Yeah.
They're already setting it up at that point. I think it would have been better if they didn't, maybe, set it up like that, and that it was unnecessary. But, I guess villain's got a villain. We got to have some reason for him to be a villain. Just wanting to destroy all dragons maybe isn't good enough, I guess. I don't know.
I didn't say he was... I said on the spectrum, if there's a sliding scale, he would be more towards the good side than the bad side.
Okay, so in terms of my end of the spectrum, there is a difference, I think, between a villain and an overall character, and something that, because I heard this in another podcast, somebody talked about this, that Someone brought up the fact that Marvel has good heroes but not as good villains, while with DC it's the other way around. They have interesting villains but weak heroes. I'm now not saying this is true, not saying I'm agreeing with it, don't read too much into it, but this did bring up the topic of conversation, which was, well, what's more important to your story, the hero or the villain? And one of the guys said a very true point that you can't have a hero and a villain both be 100% well developed and data identifiable, and you can't have both characters be 100% written well. You kind of need to play off of balance. Like in this case, in this case we have Hiccup. He's our hero, and we kind of took one movie to establish him. Let's forget the show and the shorts which came in between, because the general public will most likely not watch them as much as the movies, so I'm not counting those in for this specific point I'm trying to make. So we had one movie to develop Hiccup's character. So in the second one, we already know him. We know what he's up to. We know his friends, his family, yada yada yada. But so in that sense, Drago could have used a little bit of development, a bit more than what he had. But at the same time, you need to take into account that Hiccup is older in the sequel, and you kind of need to take more time to introduce how he is now compared to how he was. And in that sense, I understand why the focus of Dean, for that matter, was more on Hiccup than Drago, especially when Drago wasn't even supposed to fully show up in the second one, and we'll get to that later. But yeah, in terms of this balance, that you need to strike a balance between which character you need to focus on more when you're developing it. Hiccup does take priority, in my opinion, because also let's say it like this: if this Hiccup would have just showed up without like the scene with Toothless at the beginning, for example, or setting up that he has conflicts with his future duty as chief, then the movie would have been much worse, in my opinion, because that's the point. That's his character goals. He become chief by the end of this. So they needed to focus on him more. Now, if they have given more points to development to Drago than Hiccup in this specific movie, then we would have a great villain, but not an interesting main character. Debatable, I know, but it could have happened. So yeah, the point I'm trying to make is, when you're writing a hero and a villain, you kind of need to strike a balance, and sometimes the hero is going to get more, sometimes the villain is going to get less, which is the exact problem some people have with the Marvel movies, actually, that the heroes get too much and the villains are weak. But am I making any sense, or am I just rambling?
No,
Yes.
yeah, I get it.
Absolutely. I mean, simply put, you're saying that Drago is weak in the second movie because it's not his story, it's Hiccup's story, and we're following Hiccup's story, and this has always been his story.
Yeah,
and
much.
It makes sense.
Always.
Really? A Harry Potter reference?
I guess it is. I don't know.
This world has a very big significance in Harry Potter to those who don't know. But
Always is apparently, always is definitely a reference to a certain movie. It's just a word.
Mm-hmm.
okay, anyway, so but yeah, what I was trying to say is, Yeah, it's Hiccup's story. Drago is a part of it, not the main focus. But that kind of brings me to a question I forgot to put in the script, and I'm improvising right now. As you guys probably know, Valka was supposed to be the villain of the second movie, and Drago was just supposed to be talked about and then be revealed in the third one. Do you think it affected the character? Do you think it hurt him, or maybe it was for the better?
I think it definitely affected him. I I'll never know if it's for the better unless I get to read the original second script. Dean, I'm still waiting. Hit me up anytime. But
Maybe in the 20-year version DVD.
maybe. But I think it definitely affected him as a character and a villain. Do I think it hurt him? Maybe it could have. Like, we do know that Dean's talked about how he feels that Drago is definitely a weak character in the second movie and that he wants to touch more on him in the third movie and do better. So that could definitely help. And it could definitely make him a more interesting character. But yeah, looking at how the second movie played out, I don't think we were, I don't think we lost hard at him being in the second movie instead of only being in the third, and Valka supposedly being in the second movie as a villain instead. What we got wasn't bad, right? It was still really good and still very enjoyable. Just not the thing that I would have liked to have seen, maybe, when it comes to Valka being the villain.
Yeah,
But-
one more thing about the character villain kind of thing. I think Drago is a great villain because as a villain he does a lot of he does accomplish a lot when you think about it. He kills the main character from the first movie. Like he killed off a character that we've grown to love, and then he pretty much takes
No, he
over
didn't.
Toothless. Yeah. It's cynical judgment aside, you know what I'm talking about. But anyway, yeah, he takes over Toothless from Hiccup, who's been mind controlled by the Alpha. He pretty much takes over Berk some will even argue, and yeah, he pretty much also rules how many people, and has both Eret and yeah, I guess it's pretty much confirmed. He has both Eret and the Dragon Hunters from Race to the Edge all working for him. Yeah, he's a pretty big villain, but as a character, his motivations are really, I'm the bad guy.
Fair enough.
Again, I would argue that he did none of those things. The Bewilderbeast did. The
Yeah,
Bewilderbeast.
But
Like
who
Toothless.
controls the Bewilderbeast?
Drago. But see,
Yeah,
Toothless killed.
you say no,
Stop.
no. You just agreed with what I said. You just said it.
I don't
Drago
think Wolf
controls.
agrees with you because Wolf thinks that it's all part of Toothless's plan. That
Yeah,
he
it's
killed
all-
Oh
him.
yeah.
It's
He
all-
wanted to get mind control. I forgot. I know.
So who's the real
excuse
See,
me.
if
villain
we're-
in this movie? Toothless is
If
the
we're
real
doing that, it's all part of, Valka's plan because she could have stopped Drago, but she didn't. And also, it's all because of, it's all part of Astrid's plan because she told Drago
No.
about Berk.
Actually,
Yeah.
it was all Hiccup's plan to have Stuig play hero so he could die and then he could put the moves on Valka. There is actually a fan fiction with that explanation.
No,
Okay,
Hiccup just wanted to
I'm
take
just
over being
gonna-
chief. He wanted to rule Berk. He's
gonna
evil.
Leave now. Didn't hear that. Next
So,
topic, please.
Rush, everything's okay. Everything's okay. Everything will be alright.
Sure.
Moving on.
Moving on before it gets even weirder. Okay, so among the other How to Train Dragon villains, how high would you rank him?
I would say
third.
He's not as strong as Vigo, in my opinion. But Vigo, we've definitely had a lot more time with Vigo than we have had with Drago at this point as well, though. So, not counting Vigo, not counting the Dragon Hunters and the Grimborn brothers, looking at just Drago, Alvin, and Mildew, then
What
I would
about
say
Dagger?
Dagger as well. I would say, as far as villains go, I would say Dagger probably ranks a little bit above Drago as well. But I would definitely put Drago somewhat above Alvin and Mildew in terms of quality and how good his villain and how good of a villain he is.
Yeah. Well, you guys know me. Mildew will always be the least in my list. Sorry, Wolf. But
It's just wrong.
in terms of character, I will probably put Drago above Mildew, but maybe below everyone else. In terms of a villain, I'm not sure if I would have put him above or below Vigo, because like Vigo is definitely the most interesting character out of both of them, but in terms of who's the better villain,
Again, I kind of, like I said before, I kind of judge it on how much do you dislike that character and what they do and what they say and how they act, right?
so
Like,
Everybody
in that
loves Alfred
sense,
Molina. Just listen to his voice. You can't hate Vigo.
He is very good, very
Yeah.
suave. A man you love, a man you hate to love.
Or something
so
like that.
I'll say Drago is above Vigo just because Vigo is likable in being a villain. So and Drago I just
Understandable.
Yeah,
Okay,
you're,
Rush.
you're gonna get the same consensus from me. I said third at the beginning, but that's because I put not including Vigo. I put Dagger and the Red Death above Drago because the Red Death has motivation.
Oh, the Red Death
He wants
counts.
food.
Okay.
No, but yeah, I mean it's just for all the same reasons. Like, as we've really just spread out everything that we've already had, and at this point, just saying, all right, well now how does he compare to others? And we kind of already
Yeah.
told. I mean, we really
We kind of went
explained
over
the.
it. Okay, you know
Yeah,
what?
Vigo's
One
better,
more
so-
point. One more point I have for Drago over Vigo. Drago took control of an pretty much a bewildered beast. Something Vigo hasn't done, as far as we
Yet.
know. So
He took over 2 giant dragons, though. Still, he had a Submerper and what was the other one? Crap, I forgot.
Shell
the name
Shocker.
already. No, it was Shellfire.
Shellfire? Yeah.
Was it Shell Shocker?
Shell
I think
Shocker
it was
was
Shellfire.
was the TV episode name. It was Shellfire.
Yeah.
An alpha Shellfire, mind you.
yeah, but
So see, he had his own alpha. So see, he did take over an alpha.
yeah, but let's take this. If you put a bewildered beast in a fight, who would most likely win? The
Shellfire.
answer is Toothless, but okay, so that's up for debate. I'm not enough of a nerd to actually debate this. Sorry.
That's a lie, but
So-
moving on.
Yeah, so moving on, just a quick topic of discussion. What do you think is Drago's connection to Vigo and the Dragon Hunters? We pretty much talked about it earlier in the show that they're probably just like a buyer-seller kind of business, but
Business partners.
Uh-huh.
yeah. But
Vigo
here's the-
captures dragons and he sells them to Drago. I would say is probably the extent of that relationship.
yeah,
If
So
there must
far.
be one, since they shoehorned it into the TV show.
Yeah, actually, seeing how Vigo knows that Drago is trying to take over the world, most likely, do you think like Drago one day came to his base, Ah, good afternoon, sir. For what do you wish to buy dragons? I want to take over the world. Ah, okay.
Or, I knew this man. He came in to me and spoke softly. He said, "Bow to me, or I will destroy you all." Quite weird, I might say, but...
But yeah, to be honest, someone actually asked me this. If Drago has Eret bringing him dragons, why does he need Vigo? And okay, for one thing, the more dragons,
More
the
dragons.
better.
Yeah,
The more
exactly.
dragons, the better. And the second thing is that I always thought that like Eret may have been like Trader Johan in terms of dragons. You know, he just
Oh, no.
he just sails the
He
seas
wasn't
and.
goofy.
You know what I mean, not in terms of characteristics, in terms of how he walks as a trader. He just sells the seas, and whenever he shows up, he gives Drago the dragons that he catch.
Gotcha.
With Vigo, I think it's more Drago needs to make the trip to his headquarters, like going to the store, pretty much.
I don't think so. I think Vigo would just ship it to him. I don't think he would come to him. But and I would also kind of disagree about Eret kind of just selling the seas and just bringing him back some things here and there, and that's because Eret's definitely afraid of Drago and what he's capable of, and you can really see that in the scene that you and Rush talked about where Drago dominates Hookfang when Astrid starts talking to him and telling him, all the things she's telling him and trying to, get him to stand down in some way. You can actually see Eret, physically going, "No, stop, don't do it, bad choice." You can see him doing all that. And you can even see him when Drago walks up to Astrid. You can actually see Eret kind of trying to slide away and kind of get kind of behind and try and get away a little bit. So I would say, go ahead.
No, I just want to say that I think that most likely maybe Drago does pay him for equipment or maybe a crew or something, because Eret does mention that Drago braided him the one time he showed up empty-handed, but when he brings the other riders, he tells them no. I also got the riders, no extra charge for that. So maybe they do have kind of an exclusivity deal, but on the other end,
Oh, I mean,
in the
it's
scene
definitely
where
like a business relationship.
yeah,
He
but,
pays him to go out and capture dragons,
yeah, but
and
on
if
the
he
other
comes back with nothing,
yeah, but on the other end, in the scene where the riders kidnap Eret and tell him to take them to Drago, he does tell his crew, "We have nothing to sell." True, he could be talking about Drago specifically, but I also took it as maybe he trades with other people, and not just Drago. Or maybe Eret is like Drago's private hunter, and he has Vigo and the other hunters like as a backup. Like I don't know. It could go in a lot of different directions.
it's worth remembering at that point we would expect the hunters to have been defeated and probably no longer as strong as they are in Race to the Edge, more than likely, and somewhat scattered.
Yeah. And that also brings up the point of when exactly did he first hire Eret? Is it a few years thing? Is it a few months thing? Go figure when he first heard of him, and when was the first time Vigo was an option. And who knows? Maybe Eret and Vigo's crew knew each other. Maybe they were business rivals. I don't know. It could happen. We don't know.
Possibly. I'm sure you could probably tell some interesting stories there if you wanted to.
Yeah, I think they left it enough open for people to speculate and debate. So, but in terms of Drago and Vigo, yeah, again, a buyer-seller relationship is most likely it. But that does bring up a good question on if they're just a buyer-dealer kind of thing. Why on some of Vigo's ships is Drago's emblem? I think it is. know what I
No,
mean?
it was. So if you're talking about the brand, that was what was about to be Brand Hiccup. But they just made the stupid, actual bloody fist. That was like the nod to Drago.
Mhm. Yeah, maybe just an Easter egg to try and connect the dots, but yeah. Anything you guys want to add on that? Do you have any theories?
No theories. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's just as simple as can be, buyer seller. So
Yep.
Okay, so from to our final subject of the day, it is confirmed that Drago is coming back in How to Train Your Dragon 3. We know he's coming back. Didn't confirm that, and his voice actor Digimon Hansu is also confirmed to return.
That's a
I
good
al-
name.
I already said in the casting other stuff episode that that's how I call them because it's funny. And so, what do we see in the future for Drago?
I actually, like, there's so many. My predictions are off the chart. So, I can see this going like several different ways. Like, when he comes back in the third movie, I actually had a fan fiction idea. So, he was when the wildebeest went underwater, he got kind of stranded for swimming. So he went around on the island, hit on the island. He gets captured. Then the rest of Drago's army comes. But what they're doing with the comics, which they at least have to make it somewhat canon in terms of timeline.
Yeah, because Dean
Especially
is
since
also
Dean is
writing
working
that
on.
one.
Yeah, Dean is also working on it. That he'll probably just come back. I don't know. I hope he doesn't come back with a bigger army because that's just stupid. Like it's the same. It's gonna be the same idea except for nobody's.
It's even
actually
bigger now.
correct, yeah.
I have more men.
Not
I
this.
can do
again.
even more now.
Yeah.
I have a second of a wildebeest too.
Yeah.
Where did I find this one at? Who knows?
Yeah. So. I
Double
think,
the
Hey,
yelling.
I kinda like
look
the
at that!
idea.
A prosthetic tusk!
Yeah. I like the idea of him being the prisoner because they said, if I remember correctly, they said that they would show how Drago came upon the wildebeest, and they maybe have a flashback about it. So if he's a prisoner, he has time to actually tell it or something like that. It wouldn't be unless they do something weird in the beginning of the movie that shows him doing coming upon the egg, and then it goes straight to Berk. It's like, this is Berk. I don't know. There's just so many ways it can go for why Drago would come back.
Mhm. And Dean also said that he is probably going to be a reformed villain or a more fleshed out villain. What do you think we're going
Well, he's
to
definitely
learn about?
explained. Well, he's definitely explained that they're going to go into more of his backstory, as Rush just said, and they're going to delve more into why he is the way he is now. And I think that's a good thing. Again, I think they kind of messed it up a little bit in the second movie when they kind of showed that, he wanted to destroy dragons because they destroyed his life, and so he just wants to get back at them now. This kind of revenge story that also went into, I also want to rule over people as well, just because I think they messed up a little bit right there. So it's good to see that them kind of going back to the drawing board and redoing that somewhat and fleshing him out more. So I would expect to see possibly some more of his past and kind of what pushed him down this road. And we talked a bit about this in the logline that we got for How to Train Your Dragon 3, and how that maybe Drago controls new dragons now, and maybe one of those dragons is a Night Fury or stuff of that nature, or maybe as people keep saying that I will continue to disagree with, Drago's cloak is made out of Night Fury scales because, it looks exactly like it. And it's so important in the second movie. It's so important in the second movie. So
Which
important.
is why he throws it away and never comes back for it.
I'm sorry. I'm going to disagree with that statement consistently. Because it's not important in the second movie, but obviously we're going to make it important in the third movie now, which that makes zero sense to me.
It
But
may not. You're right. It may not be. I think that if the reason why people are thinking is because it's black, but I mean things char when you throw enough fire at them. Jeez.
no, not just that. Again, it's not, in my opinion, made important enough. But yeah, I think we're definitely going to see possibly more of the why he is the way he is, and maybe try and make him more sympathetic and take him down that more extreme route of he just wanted to destroy the dragons just because they destroyed his life, so he wants to get even. And I think another reason why we'll see him coming back is because now he wants to get back at Hiccup as well, because Hiccup beat him.
Obviously.
And actually, what did I want to say? Yeah, that. So if Hiccup and Toothless are going to be separated in the third movie, and the entire there were dragons when I was a boy eating, and the dragon will leave and stuff, do you think Drago will have any connection to it? Because I think he could have something to do with it, but I'm not sure what. I don't have an idea what it could be.
Well, it could be that along the lines of, I've said in the past that if we kind of link Drago to finishing off the Night Furies or killing one of the last surviving nests or anything of that nature, and he's the reason why Toothless is all alone, that could be the spark to try and get Hiccup to actually, get rid of Drago permanently, because he is a threat to all of dragons because of how far he's willing to go. That could be them using that to push Hiccup down that direction, and Hiccup chooses to not do it, so Toothless does it anyways, and they could use that as the kind of spark to say, alright, something needs to be done, in a way like humans and dragons just can't live together right now. It just will not work, right?
Yeah. Okay.
So that's a possibility, although I explained it poorly.
Everything's a possibility until the film comes out in 2 years.
Don't remind us.
Actually, no, it's a year and a few months now, because it's March 2019, right?
Body freaking out. Alright, yep.
But I think we pretty much covered it all, so anything you want to add on Drago before we close the topic?
Nope.
A fun character, a good villain. Can't wait to see more of him, and where they take him. He has potential, as I've said in the past.
Yep, he has potential. So that's been all for this episode of the Berkcast. We hope you enjoyed. If you want to talk to us about Drago or anything else, you can do this on Tumblr, where we are Berkcast team. On Twitter, we are Berkcast, capital B, capital C, and we are all on the Berk forums. So until next time, I was HC.
I was Raj.
And I've been Wolf.
And we will talk to you all next time. So until then, take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.